it was not clear that that was okay for other people to go to in person if they asked to come in.
But in the next, I appreciate that. I get it. But in the next 2 weeks, in the next week or two, I would appreciate it if you would make an appointment and visit with Anna about the budget. Because I believe that Sheila and Tara are there because of the budget. And Nikki, of course, is in.
What?
I'm confused.
I don't understand. I'm sorry. I'm not following.
All right, we need to, guys, we need to have this conversation later. We need to open the meeting and then go into executive session.
Not cool. This is not cool. I'm just gonna lay it on the line. It should be, if this is an open meeting in person, it should be open to everyone. And it was not open to me. And Sheila, I don't hold it against anyone. Sheila just said she asked and was invited in, but we shouldn't have to ask. If it's a meeting in person or whatever you want, then that should be offered. And this is really upsetting.
I agree.
Because it's a lot easier to have a meeting in person. So like Sheila and Tara, who I'm sure find it easier to be in person, I too would have found that easier and would have appreciated being invited, just like 2 members of 9, to be in that room. And I don't hold it against them. I hold it about whoever did not invite. I just don't think it's cool. I think everybody should be coming from the same point. Everybody should have the same opportunity.
All right, Maj, you need to open the meeting so we can get to executive session. It's
All right.
6:03.
Huh? Where's Anna?
And it's there.
We're here.
Oh, I don't see her on my screen.
Yeah, I'm sorry. This is the new camera just doesn't always move when someone's talking. It's there it is. I was gonna say it moves when you speak. So the 4 of us are in the room, Diane, myself, good Lord.
Tara,
Tara and Sheila. I'm sorry.
I don't see Vic either.
No, Vic has not joined the meeting.
And neither is Karen.
And now there's Karen.
Yeah.
I can't get in on the agenda link for the open session.
You don't have the webinar?
I know, but I don't have the code or the webinar ID. I've got it for the virtual, for the executive. That executive is 8205797, right?
No, but I got to take you off speakerphone. The passcode for this webinar is 507603.
March, excuse me.
Yeah.
It doesn't really matter. You have a quorum. All you need now at this point is to go into the vote, and he can't get in there because that's a participant link on the spread on the agenda. He got a separate invitation to the webinar.
Yeah, okay, Vic. Go into executive and then we'll talk about it, all right?
Okay.
Okay,
right, sounds
bye.
good.
All right, I need a motion to go into executive session.
So moved.
I need a second. Did I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. All right, we'll see you in executive session.
Is that, it actually, I don't think it can be.
Diana, I think it said we were being recorded, but you're not supposed to record executive session. You're muted, Diana.
You are still in the webinar.
We are still in the webinar? Oh, okay. Never mind. Bye.
How are we doing here?
Just FYI, Marge, there are no public comments.
All right, thank you. But I don't see,
Sarah's on.
Sarah, seeing Carly. Well, I'm not seeing Carly, but I'm seeing her name. So does Vic know how to get on this?
Hopefully. Yep, he's here.
I'm just waiting for Karen.
Aaron too.
Yeah, Erin's taking a breather. She'll be back.
Okay. And Mary Ann, is Mary Ann coming back?
Yeah, I'm not seeing anybody's name. I'm seeing faces and I'm not seeing anybody's name that's on the school committee on my screen except Vic Cabral. I'm seeing Ryan and Brenna and Rose.
That's all that's on here.
And I'm looking for Karen, and Aaron is will be on in a little while. And Nikki is not on.
Right.
So we have enough to get the meeting started. We have
Yeah,
a quorum. So we need, I need Mary Ann to tell me whether we,
You approve do the pledge first, Marge.
and then do the, then seal the minutes.
Yeah, that's 5. You know, you have 4 is the opening business pledge of allegiance, and then 5 is the action item to seal the minutes.
Okay, Mary Ann says she's on. Can I see her? Now I can see her.
Find the executive session link.
Excuse me, what?
Sorry, go ahead.
All
Karen?
right, let's all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, okay? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Karen's having a hard time finding the link.
I can send it to Karen if you can.
Yes, please.
I can send it. Does she have it?
Are you taking care of that?
Did
Somebody
someone say
take
they were
care-
taking care of it, or am I taking care of
I
it?
can do it.
Diane Santa's doing it.
Okay, thank you.
All right, I need a motion to approve and seal the minutes of the executive session.
So moved.
I need a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. I don't want to be on a webinar anymore, and I'm putting that in public. So, we'll talk about that later. I'm still waiting for Karen, but our first item on the agenda is the graduation requirements. Tara, you asked that this be addressed, and Superintendent Riley?
Yes, ma'am. Ryan, if you could let me share screen.
Should be good now.
Nope.
Try that.
Yeah, thank you.
Somebody from the public just texted me and said that they're on the meeting, but they can't see any other participants. Is that why we're in a webinar? What's the deal on that?
No, they should be able to see us, but we can't see them.
Well, they can't
Hold
see
on.
us either.
Okay, hold
Yeah.
on 1 second.
So we have 72 participants.
Okay,
Somebody just raised their hand.
well, I don't know why, because there's no public comment because nobody registered. So we're going to move on to presentations, which is the graduation requirements. And Superintendent Riley, have you figured out how to get that on there?
She's working on it. Just 1 minute, please.
Okay, thanks. Nope, somebody else just told me they couldn't see the participants either.
They can't see them participants,
They cannot?
not each other. They can see us.
Okay, thank you.
That was the whole idea, to sort of get the people that you wanted to see right on your screen. So you can have your whole, the school committee and the department heads in front of you.
So they're only seeing us and not other participants.
I believe that's the way it works, yes. Someone can correct me. Rose is on, right?
Yep, that's correct.
The hope was to declutter your screen, Marge.
I know. But I think we just need to make that a public statement, because I've gotten a couple of emails now from parents who can only see the person who's talking. And so I wanted them to understand what this webinar means, and I also wanted them to know that I'm not doing it anymore this way.
Marge, I think, Marge, also, if you're looking for Karen, her thing is Michael Cabral. I don't know.
I know.
I don't know if they realize that or not to let her in.
Ryan, Rose, do you see Michael Cabral?
I got her. Just sent her a request to become a panelist.
Okay. That's her with the spinning color wheel, correct?
Yeah.
Ah, there she is. Sorry, Karen. You're muted, so I can't hear you. Well, hopefully after this week, we won't have to do this anymore. Ryan, Erin Schofield should be coming back in at some point. When she shows up, would you let her in, please?
Absolutely.
Thank you. All right, are we there yet? As a preface to what we're waiting for. Oh, here we go. The state is enacting new graduation requirements, and we're going to talk about them tonight and let you know where you can go to comment on these new regulations.
I'm like, okay.
Okay, can you see the presentation now?
Yes, thank you, Superintendent.
Okay, I'm sorry. We practiced this earlier and still technical difficulties. All right. So I'm not going to share the full presentation. I did send it to you and we will post it on our website. I just want to hit the highlights of what the changes are. So RIDE has been sharing this with different stakeholders across the state of Rhode Island. This is the process they've gone through. There was a drafting from June to December of last year, and then they brought it to the council. The council asked them to take it back out for more feedback from the public. They had a vote last Tuesday to put it out for public comment. I did look today to see if the public comment link was out for the public hearings. It has not been published yet. When it's published, we will send out on our all email to staff and parents the link, and I will share it with the school committee, and then we'll put it on our website so the public can access it. And then their plan is to have a final approval vote this spring. They have not given us a date, just this spring. This is just all of the folks they have presented to. And then what they've heard. So originally their timeline was for the class of 2026, which would be our current 8th graders. That was a concern that was too soon. And then there were significant concerns about a proposed world language requirement. And then the lack of flexibility was another large concern that was shared. So now they've changed the timeline. It will now not be the class of 2026. It will be the class of 2027, which is the current 7th grade. And then they want it, so they have not changed the world language requirement. They've just shared with us why they still think it's an important requirement. So the high schools that don't share it, that don't require it, tend to be the lowest students to world language teacher ratio. So not enough staff is one of the concerns. None of the top 5 schools have a free and reduced lunch count over 50%. None of the top 5 schools have a large MLL population, and 4 of the top 5 schools are majority of white students. So these are the currently the top 5 high schools. These are the lowest 5 high schools, and obviously the data is the reverse. So they bring that up as an equity issue. Why does this matter? Because students are required to take 2 credits in a world language for the majority of colleges. And particularly where our students tend to go over the last 10 years, we have a common list of schools where most of our students go. And these are their world language requirements. So the 2 years are required by URI, by Rick, by Bryant, by Salve, by Providence College, University of Vermont, University of New Hampshire, Connecticut, and Quinnipiac. World language is a recommendation for Roger Williams and Plymouth State. And then it's not required for New England Institute of Technology or Johnson and Wales. These are 11 of the 13 most attended four-year colleges require or recommend that students have that world language coursework. So the concern is it's closing the door for too many of our students. So flexibility is another conversation we've been having around these requirements. The schools are concerned about the flexibility. It's really small on here, so I'm going to move to the next slide, but this is the recommendation for the current regs versus the proposed regs, and it's a little more better blown up here. So you can see the current regs require 4 years of English, 4 years of math, 3 years of physical science, 3 years of social science, and then 6 additional courses for a total of 20 courses. We have an additional requirement here in Bristol 1. We require students to also take PE as a graduation requirement and an arts credit as a requirement and a tech requirement. So we have those 3 additional. As one of, it is one of, I think it's one of our, no,
There's no tech.
no tech requirement. I take that back.
Embedded into the portfolio.
Thank you. It's in portfolio. Portfolio is our last requirement. So the new regs require 4 years of English, and they require 4 years of math, except the 4 years of math have to include algebra, geometry, and algebra 2. That's one of the course realignments that you saw us moving towards in our new program of studies. It still requires 3 physical and natural sciences, but 2 must be lab sciences, 3 history courses, then 2 credits in world languages, which must be the same world language, and then 1 additional college preparatory unit, in addition to 3 of these units that, I wish I could read that, include but are not limited to arts, computer science, phys ed, and health. So the minimum is 20 credits. These are the new proposed requirements. Currently, we have significant flexibility, but the questions are, is that flexibility actually doing what we need it to do? And I'm just going to go quickly through these. So here's their concern. Are our kids ready? Currently across the state, only about 19% of students are meeting all of these requirements. And again, this is state data, not our data. So grounding the flexibility in academic readiness, so developing different initiatives, partnering with higher ed because we want some flexibility for our CTE programs, and continue to partner with external organizations for on-demand to support students. I'm just going to try, this is the updates on the definition of core subject area to include art. Art was put into the BEP in its last rendition. So the arts community has asked that it be included in the core subject area. And then based on feedback from special education advocacy community, the option for students with IEPs to waive required credits, but only if their struggle is deemed a manifestation of their disability. And then again, back to the same process that I outlined earlier. So again, I have not seen the link yet for public comment, but once we have it, we will get that out to you. The public comment period will be 45 to 60 days, and we'll have at least 4 public hearings, one of which I'm certain will be in the East Bay. We'll make sure we do a good job of advertising that for all of our families. And then they want this to be commented on, they want the feedback. And that is the end of this. Get us out of this so I can talk to you about that. So the feedback sessions will include live hearings. So again, when one is near us, I'll make sure that you're all noticed of when it is, and I'll share all of them in case you can't make that one. So for us, the flexibilities include the fact that in our 8th grade, we currently do offer sections of algebra and exposure to a full first year of world language. So many of our students can take advantage of that and enter high school with 2 of those requirements already complete. So I'd say that's a good piece of the flexibility for us here in Bristol Warren. We currently don't require world language. However, most of our students do have 2 years of world language by the time they graduate. So our concern is as we try to grow our CTE programs, and the more we want to encourage students to try them out and see if that may be an option for them, we don't want to limit the number of courses they can take, but once you put all these requirements in, it really ties them from choosing things that they're interested in or may be interested in, and so they want to sample them because they'll have to meet all their requirements. And so we don't want kids to choose between something they might really love versus something they have to take. And so we want the flexibility, particularly for our students in CTE, to have some other options that doesn't bind them to the 2 years of world language, but allows them to do all of their credits for CTE and be able to explore that field outside of the 3 required courses. So that's our worry for our students here in Bristol Warren. But like I said, for many of our students, the world language is not an issue. I think the shift in math is going to require us really doubling down on our support and improvement in our math scores K-8. So kids are really ready for that pathway, the algebra, geometry, and algebra 2 pathway. Again, we have some advanced students who are doing algebra. I want to see that number grow, but it means we have to improve the work that we're doing K-7 so that more students have the opportunity to take that algebra course in 8th grade. I don't think for us it's as limiting as it is for some other schools, but I still would rather have the flexibility than have the regulation be so rigid as to require those extra pieces. Then I'm happy to answer any additional questions or get any more information that you all might need.
Anybody have any questions?
I have a statement, actually. And I very much appreciate the presentation because, again, I've had 6 children and 2027 is my last one to graduate. And again, we'll have 6 different graduation requirements. I think I've hit a record. So I'm not against college. I read this presentation, and so I don't want anyone to think that I'm not for kids going to college. I think that there are kids that need to go to college. But I'm requesting that the school committee drafts a resolution rejecting these recommended changes to the graduation requirements. We should be encouraging a direct pathway to high wage, high demand jobs with real growth potential. And for over 40 years, the recommended path has been to push students into college. 75% of Mount Hope High School graduates went to college last year, and less than 50% of them will graduate with a degree. And those that graduate from high school to go to college are accounting for $1.6 trillion of student debt, a debt that they have difficulty paying back because the jobs that they get with their degrees don't exist anymore. This country has 7.3 million open jobs, and the vast majority of them do not require a 4-year degree. Our skills gap keeps getting wider. Our graduation requirements should be focusing on essential skills, how to find, acquire, maintain, and grow within a job. The pursuit of a useful skill can be both college-bound and career-bound. There should be requirements in high school that lead all students to opportunities and training, not to world language and college prep. Those opportunities already exist, especially for our district. The proposed recommendations from RIDE are politically based, and it's kind of a foul of the money. They are not in the best interest of our students or of the future workforce. And my question is, why is RIDE pushing more kids to fail? Our essential workers are aging out of their industries, and we are struggling to find in-demand replacements. These proposed recommendations continue to discriminate. These proposed recommendations continue the discrimination of elevating one group over another and lead to an imbalance in our workforce. I reiterate, I am not against the pursuit of a college degree. I am speaking up for the 50% that will not benefit from these proposed changes. I am requesting a resolution that can be sent to other districts and town councils to make them aware of these concerns. Whatever happened to No Child Left Behind. So I appreciate your presentation, but I still feel that if the RIDE is really looking at making our kids readiness based after graduation, these do not get them in that place.
Thank you, Tara, but we don't have anything, any action item on this. And I think that if, that we ought to be waiting until the comment period is over, and see what they're trending toward before we vote on a resolution. So I will look to the superintendent to tell me when it's appropriate to put it on the agenda. And then we can
Thank you.
vote on that or not. Anybody else? All right, hearing none, thank you very much, Superintendent Riley. Remember, folks, look for that comment period. Make sure you take the time to send in your comments. RIDE is looking for them, and it will be important to help drive the direction that they go in. All right, the next thing on the agenda is the consent agenda. I need a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Motion, so moved.
I need a second.
Second.
Discussion. Oh, no, there's no discussion. Sorry. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Now we'll move on to discussion and possible action. The first thing on the agenda is the 2022 Rhode Island Student Survey, otherwise known as RIS. Superintendent Riley, would you like to speak to that?
Sure, I sent you a copy of the survey. This is a survey that was typically done every other year. Last year should have been the year, but because of COVID, they held it. And so they released it this year. It's my understanding that the district has participated in this survey in prior years. It does provide us with some helpful data as we look to continue to improve our SEL services for students. So I do recommend that we approve the survey. So it just gives us an extra data piece.
Since I need to sign this, I need a motion. Am I going to get a motion from anybody? Or
So
are we not-
moved.
Second?
Second.
Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I'm opposed.
What?
I'm opposed.
Okay, so Tara is opposed. Anybody else opposed? And Sheila is,
Can we just ask questions or no? Sorry, I don't think you saw my hand up.
no, I didn't. Yes, you can ask questions.
Okay, so the question that I have is what are they doing with the actual data? And when I look back, like some of the percentage of students who have ever been a passenger of a person drinking, like this is like that was back in our day.
So these questions are used by most prevention coalitions to plan programming. So if a lot of students in our area responded, there was a trend towards that was a regular occurrence for them, that might be a program that our prevention coalition would put on to support both parents and students to try to prevent that from happening. That's what
this is more like grant to allow funding into the district.
For programming. It's to kind of
Like
drive what
grants?
programming, like, yes. So it doesn't give us any grants, but it might help us apply for grants. So for example, if this demonstrated that we had a very high vape use or alcohol use, then we would apply for grants to help us provide more
So,
education in those areas.
Without this, you couldn't apply for those grants?
No, we could, like I said, this is another data
Yeah, it
piece.
also informs curriculum, so when we look at this and we see that, well, we need to focus on this more in the curriculum. So it's used in a variety of ways, and
I didn't see any curriculum-based ones.
as far as the extent of bullying prevention or mental health issues, it would just tell us, it would just indicate that there's a need, and in addition to looking at our survey work statement,
Yeah.
that you kind of go together.
Wouldn't we know, I mean, in our schools, we have, teachers and counselors and SRO officers and admins that walk and know these kids. I mean, we know right now we have an issue at one of our schools, so can't we, I mean, we know, nothing on here would be a secret to us, I think.
I think this validates it, it provides data, and it gets every student. So we hear from certainly we have issues that stand out because something might happen at one of our schools, and so there's a disciplinary action or some kind of reaction to an event. But this actually allows us to collect data across every student. So it just helps to validate where we need to do more programming. Again, more support, that's all, that's the goal of this.
Marge, I do have one question myself.
Yes, Sarah.
Parents can opt out of this as well, correct?
Yep.
Because I just want to make the statement, I read the questions, I have the 2022 survey in front of me, and it isn't something I would want my 7th grader to take. So I am voting against this.
All right. So now we'll revote. All in favor? Opposed?
I'm opposed.
Sarah and Sheila are opposed. The motion carries. The next item on the agenda is actually a pleasurable thing to talk about. We have a contract with BWEA, and I need a motion to ratify the contract.
So moved.
And a second.
Second.
Discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you very much to everybody who worked so hard to facilitate this. Thank you to Superintendent Riley, and thank you to the teachers in our district.
Thank you.
The next thing on the agenda is the approval of the first reading of policy JC, elementary placement, as recommended by the policy curriculum subcommittee. I need a motion
So moved.
and a second.
Second.
Discussion.
I just wanted to let folks know for the public that this was a policy that we clarified because it was rather confusing, and we have a much sharper, cleaner map to allow us to be more thorough and I guess less gray in how we place elementary students.
Thank you, Carly. Vic.
My concern is the map as to where the boundaries are for the schools that the students will attend. And I definitely have a problem, as I've stated before, as to the concern as to why the students who are in Papa Squash end up going to the Rockwell school because it's closer to Gutierrez than to Rockwell. That's my concern, and we always have a problem with the boundary for Rockwell School because real estate agents tell the people that they're going to buy a house in the Rockwell area, and that boundary could change by the population of the students in the area. So some people could be miffed because they buy a house, what they think is the Rockwell area, and the boundary may move, and that will mean that those kids will not go to the Rockwell. That's my concern.
And we have, Vic, as you know, we have approached real estate individuals, real estate agents, to tell them that that's not an appropriate thing, but they can say whatever they want to say. So I'd say that the onus is on the homeowner to take a trip to Oliver, not to Oliver anymore, to Reynolds, to see where those boundaries actually are. And as to the question about people on Papa Squash, I go back way to when we did this and I don't have an answer for you on that. There was no rhyme or reason for that at the time.
Oh, Marge, I think there is a rhyme and a reason, but we won't state it here.
I don't know of it, and that's the truth. Behind the scenes, there might have been, but it certainly wasn't something that I was privy to. So I really can't answer that question for you. Okay,
Thank you very much, Marge.
I'm just being honest here. I really don't know.
Marge, you don't have to explain it. I understand.
Okay, so
Sheila
all
wants
in
to-
favor?
No, Sheila wants to
Wait,
talk.
Marge, I have a question.
Yeah, go.
Did the map change?
No, they just
No.
cleaned up the lines.
This didn't change?
No.
Okay.
Nothing changed except the statement about what constitutes a full class, because we have kindergartners at Rockwell that are on 24 students in a classroom, and we don't want to go there. Yes, Erin. Erin?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm sorry, but I had to miss the policy meeting because I was away on business out of state, and I otherwise would have been there, but I don't want to put Mr. Cabral on the spot at all. So I don't know if there's anyone here who could explain to me what the nuance is with the Rockwell Gutierrez thing and Papa Squash, because I'm truly in the dark. And I'm not trying to put anyone on the spot, but I'm just trying to understand what we're talking about. That's all.
All right, let me explain.
I'll address it,
Erin.
Marge. I'll address it. Okay.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Erin, if you ever been to Papa Squash?
What?
I have driven out there, yes.
To the end? Have you gone to the end?
I have.
Yeah. Well, when you come out Papa Squash Road, right? If you take a right, instantly you see Gutierrez School. But if you take a left, you could go at least a mile or something to get to the Rockwell School. So my point is, why do those cherubs go to Rockwell when Gutierrez is so much closer? That's my concern. All right. Now, without making any other statement, we understand the situation here. Our present state treasurer attended Rockwell School, right? And he lived on Pop Squash, but he never went to Gutierrez. So that's my concern. He could have much easier. He would have been on the bus much less time if he went to Gutierrez than to Rockwell. All right. But again, I know that I make the statement, and I know it'll never be changed because of the circumstances. But that's the reason, Erin. Okay.
Okay. So I think I hear you, and
Okay,
I really appreciate you explaining that to me. So, but to make sure I understand, so is there some belief that perhaps the maps are the way they are because of that situation?
I worked on those maps, Erin, way back when the school committee did this. We had issues with zones because for a while here in Bristol, not all schools were full, including Rockwell. And when Rockwell wasn't full, they moved the zones outward to capture enough children to fill up Rockwell. And they did that with some of the other schools, and that's why you'll see zone 1, zone 2, and zone 3. And
so
then
go ahead.
Let me finish. So then we had public hearings, and we talked about the zones, and we explained to everybody what we were doing, and we voted on it, and it was all set. And that's why I say to Mr. Cabral that at no time when we were going over these maps did anybody say anything to me about Papa Squash. So the problem with the maps, the problem that we faced here was that the contract says 24 students in an elementary classroom. And we all know that that's not what we're striving for at the kindergarten level. But this school district was getting some pressure because it didn't say that. It said a maximum class. So what the policy subcommittee did was tighten up that language, because that was the language that needed to be tightened up. So that's all. That's the only change that's being made. If you want to attempt it again, you know, I'll tell you, it took us like 8 months to get this together, but it's up to you.
Yeah, so I think I'm just wondering, because of what I'm hearing now, and again, I would have asked this at the policy meeting if I hadn't been away, but so do these maps shift over time based on population of places?
They do. That's why you see the zones. They also shift. If a child comes into a school as a kindergartner, and then their sibling comes ready to go to school, they are allowed to go to school with their siblings. So there are outliers out there. There are changes. There are some things that do happen, in fact.
I think Dr. Santa can do a little explanation of this for you, Erin, if it would be helpful.
Sure. Thank you.
I think that the question is a very good one. We've been considering a longer term plan to really look at enrollment numbers, and we have a number of different housing developments and things like that, but that would require a study with the bus company as well. So we weren't prepared to do that at this point, but that is something that I think that we should consider down the road. But for right now, we wanted to just clarify the language. We also noticed that the map was very confusing to read. So we updated the map. The boundary lines are the same. It's just clearer to read. But as I said, somewhere down the road, I think that we should do a study to really revisit the boundary lines and make sure that they don't need it, see if they need adjustment.
Carly?
Yes, thank you, because it seems like based on what Victor is saying and what Marge is saying, that it is something that should be revisited from time to time based on population and what our schools can accommodate.
Yes, I don't disagree with you, but it takes a long period of time. And right now, the pressing issue for administration was what they brought to our attention and what the policy subcommittee corrected. In the future, if you want to, when you look at consolidation of buildings and you look at populations, then you should be looking again at what your zones are. And at that time, as Ms. Santa said, you would bring in all of the stakeholders and you would do another hearing type of thing like we did once before.
Yeah, I can imagine it's a big endeavor for sure.
Carly? You're muted.
Thank you. I hate to belabor the map again, but call me crazy. When I'm looking at my map, Papa Squash says CA2, which I assume would be Colt Andrews.
Just let it know.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, so I guess Papa Squash isn't part of Rockwell?
It may
I'm just
not
trying
be,
to
but they
understand.
go to Rockwell. It may not be, but they go to Rockwell. Ask Miss Santa where they go.
Okay, I'm just confused.
Well, I think we could, we need to vote on the changes that you made, that the policy subcommittee made, and they're underlined in the policy that you got. So I have a motion
Happy to
and a
vote on
second.
that.
Well, but I agree with Polly. I mean, if it says CA, then they should go to Colt Andrews. I mean, if they're going to Rockwell, then there should be an R there. Tell me where they're going. Anybody who lives on Papa Squash, where do they attend school? Other than private, I'm sure.
So I
Well, I
can't
don't know the
answer
answer
for
to
you
that,
today,
but I would
moving forward, we will follow the policy. Of that, I can assure you, we will follow what it says in the policy. I can't fix anything before this year, but I will fix it going forward. The policy says Colt Andrews, that's where students will go.
Thank you.
And I agree with you, Anna. I'm just saying, as far as I know, the people in Papa Squash sent their kids to Rockwell. I told you, Magazine went to Rockwell. And he lives on Papa Squash. I can tell you that right now. But this over here says CA. If that is true, I don't care, Anna, whichever way you go. But whatever is labeled right there, if it's CA, then those kids should go to Colt Andrews. And I have no problem with that at all.
Thank you,
Agreed.
Dick. Aaron?
Sorry, just had to unmute. So yeah, I guess based on this conversation, my question would just be, based on what Mr. Cabral is saying, have there been, and then will there be special exceptions in any cases to who goes where? Because I feel like, you know, in fairness, like whatever the zones are is where the students who live where they live should go. And it seems like there is some question as to whether these students are going to the schools they're slated to go to. So I think if we just, you know, make it clear that these are the zones and these are where the students go to, I'm not really sure where the question would be.
Well, I think the superintendent just indicated that
Yep.
from this day forward, children will go to school in the zone that they live in. And that's not a negotiable item on her part. So I think she answered that question pretty clearly for all of us. Anybody else? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. The next thing on the agenda is the approval of the first reading of policy KBLEA, family engagement, as recommended by the Policy and Curriculum Subcommittee. I need
So
a
moved.
motion. I need a second.
Second.
Discussion. Carly?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a mouthful of letters, isn't it?
Yeah, but that's where it falls.
Yes, I just wanted to highlight that this was a legal requirement, and as of yet, or as of now, that the district didn't have a family engagement policy in place. This is streamlined. It's meant to address the needs of Title I schools, but will be applied to all schools in our district.
Anybody have any questions?
I do.
I do. Who said? Aaron?
Aaron can go first.
Okay, thanks.
I was just gonna ask for the public, is this, are there changes that you can point to, Carly? And again, I hate to put you on the spot, but I know you know these policies frontwards and backwards, so I'm not that worried about it, but are there specific changes to this policy that should be pointed out to the public, or is this just a state change, or what is this, and how can the public understand what's going on here?
Thank you. Thank you for those questions. And I'm going to pass the buck and put Dr. Santa on the spot to highlight this, because I think she was the last set of hands to touch the policy. Thank you, Dr. Santa.
So the policy is a new policy. We did not previously have a family engagement policy. And it is part of Title I, but also it's something that we would hope all of our schools would implement as far as family engagement practices. There are some additional requirements for Title I schools, and Colt Andrews and New Cole, being our Title I schools, will be informed of those. But this is just a general policy to make sure that we have guidance for our schools and following good practices around family engagement.
Tara, you had a question?
I do, thank you. So in one of the bullet points, it just says conduct an annual evaluation of effectiveness of this policy in improving, and I just wanted to know what the tool was.
What we've done in the past, and this is part of Title I, is that we've sent a survey to families asking them how they would rate the amount of information that we send out, the type of information? Are there other things that they feel that they need? Do they feel welcome in the school? Questions like that.
Okay, and that is for Title I, but if this is going to be a self-advocate, like a parental oversight kind of engagement policy, how are we engaging the rest of the school district?
So
Or what tool are we using?
we could do something similar. We could also use the data from SurveyWorks, which has a lot of very similar questions.
Are you good with that, Tara?
Yes, thank you.
All right, anybody else? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Oppose? The ayes have it. The next item on the agenda is the approval of the first reading of policy GBED and policy JHFAA, use of physical restraint as recommended by the Policy and Curriculum Subcommittee. Carly.
Thank you.
So moved.
Oh, yeah, that has.
Oh, sorry, thanks, Tara. Second?
Second.
All right, Carly, go ahead.
Yeah, no problem. Again, another policy that we needed to update. Brenna, I know, spent a lot of time working on this policy and also with our attorney, Mary Ann Carroll. We talked at subcommittee about training, and that this is something that doesn't happen often in our district, but that is appropriate for everyone to be trained appropriately and to have reporting and other sorts of checks in place. Like I think we included adding a nurse assessment if a physical restraint needed to take place within a school building. I don't think I missed anything, but please fill in any blanks, Superintendent Riley or Dr. Santa, if I neglected to point out any important points.
Actually, I'm going to hand this one over to Mrs. Tolan.
No, I think that you covered it. The purpose of revising it was to create a comprehensive policy that kind of touched on all aspects while emphasizing de-escalation tools and strategies. So I think you nailed it. Thank you.
Thank you. I didn't see your face on there. Otherwise I would.
It's okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Anything else? Anybody else? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Oppose? The ayes have it. On our agenda, the last thing on our agenda is the FY 2023 Superintendent's Recommended General Fund Budget. And for that, I turn to Superintendent Riley.
Thank you. Ryan, can you share screen for this one so I don't have to battle with the computer? Thank you. Next slide, please. So I know our strategic plan is in draft form and that we are getting ready to schedule meetings with each of the charters that were engaged, but I wanted to utilize the draft guidance that's been put together because I think these priorities help to drive the budget and outline the direction that we're moving in. And so what you see here are the 5 objectives that are outlined in our strategic plan, and then I'm going to quickly walk us through each. Next slide, please, Ryan. So objective 1, climate and culture. And so these are just some of the highlights that came out of that charter group. One of the things that I shared with you at our last meeting was reviewing the code of conduct. You'll see that on here. And the other piece that's on here is really looking at a tier 1 social emotional learning curriculum. We don't have a curriculum in our schools right now. We are using various programs across the district, but we don't have a common curriculum that's being utilized in all of our schools. So those are just 2 highlights that we're working towards in the budget from that objective. Next slide, Ryan. Of course, one of our most important objectives, teaching and learning. What are we doing to continue to improve teaching and learning across the district? You'll see highlighted on here the high quality curriculum. We already have high quality curriculum in both ELA and in math. We will continue to work on the implementation of our ELA and continue to improve math. You'll see when we get to the recommendations page that one of our expenses this year will include hiring achievement coaches to help support that implementation and to improve what's happening. In addition to highlighting career and tech ed here, where we're also making a continued investment. Objective 3, next slide please, Ryan. Professional learning. Again, working to make sure that we have school improvement plans that support school-based professional learning, that we continue to highlight development and opportunities for staff that promote improvement in both literacy and math. Next slide, please, Ryan. As mentioned in the teaching and learning slide, one of our priorities is career and technical education. We have talked broadly about increasing our programs. We are bringing some programs for approval this year, 4 of our programs, and our goal is to continue to grow these and make them marketable to other students across other districts. We have room in our high school, we are under enrolled, and so anything we can do to promote our programs both for our own students, but also to get additional students to join our programming. Then objective 5, next slide, thank you. Operational excellence. How do we continue to improve the work that's happening here in the district? In addition to this new strategic plan that we'll continue to solidify and work towards bringing to you for a vote at the end of the spring, we are also going to launch our new capital 5-year plan. Our current one will expire this summer, and so we'll need to do a new 5-year capital plan. We continue to support technology. And again, one of the big things that I have on my list is really that stakeholder engagement and communication. We want to continue to promote all of the work that we are doing currently in our schools, but also keep parents informed as we update and make changes, but including them as per our family engagement policy and what's happening on a regular basis in our schools. Next slide, please, Ryan. And so these are the requests in the budget. So these are some of the additional costs that you'll see in our budget. One is we currently have a literacy coordinator K-8. We are also going to add a math coordinator K-8. We want to, again, build the strength core of our curriculum across our elementaries and into middle school. And so a math coordinator will help to make sure that the professional learning is aligned and we have a renewed effort in reviewing what we're doing in our green curriculum for math. We've had that curriculum for 6 years, but it really does need some relooking at. Many of our teachers who have come to the district in the last 5 years haven't received any training in the program, and we are seeing the benefits of all the professional learning happening in our new literacy adoption. We want to reinvigorate math that way, and that will be really the priority of our new math coordinator. As I mentioned just on the last slide, technology updates. We are constantly updating technology, not just the hardware, but also software. We need our students and our staff to have the best tools available to them. We are hiring additional special education teachers. So as we move to create more collaborative classrooms, and that's also referred to as co-teaching, so really highlighting having a special educator with a general education teacher in the classroom all day is really one of the best research-based programming to support students with IEPs. We currently do not have the staffing for this kind of a model, but we want to start to work towards that. So you'll see that we did increase the number of special education teachers in our budget for next year. In addition to hiring a 4th special education coordinator, and this is tied to the next line that you see here, which is adding more pre-K. So another way that we can really make sure our students are ready to learn in kindergarten is by increasing opportunities for pre-K. We currently offer 2 part-time programs for 3- and 4-year-olds, which our district program is hosted at Hugh Cole currently. We're going to make the 4-year-old program a full-day program, And then we're going to add a full-day program at Colt Andrews. So we will have 2 4-year-old full-day programs for pre-K in the district next year, in addition to the part-time 3-year-old program. All right, and now the brass tacks, and Tony's going to do part of this spiel for me. We have what you see here is our FY22 budget. He has focused quite a bit of time and energy in cleaning up our staffing, so I'll let him just walk us through these 2 lines and then the expectation for the next set of lines. Thank you, Superintendent. Good evening, everyone. As the Superintendent said, there's quite a bit of movement that's happening. We've incorporated the recently adopted contract in these salary projections, so the cost increases that have been negotiated are included in this. Clearly, the biggest work that we've had over the last month and a half is the identification of staff needs and identification of, if those needs are met, then what other areas can we trim back on and repurpose. And so we are repurposing a number of positions to achieve the things that we're talking about. And so what was sent out, and I apologize for the tardiness of it, but the extensiveness when you get into it is the staff and fringe benefits supplement. And that went out electronically, and there's hard copies that we have here at the table. We'll get hard copies for folks who want those as well. But basically what this is the presentation of what I've done for the last 2 budget presentations, one in August and then again in January, where we have a sheet showing how many teachers, how many TAs, how many principals, building by building. And so I'm giving you a running history of what the school committee had adopted in August, what our revision was in January, and then what the superintendent's proposing. And so those pieces are broken down where literally you can see, okay, there's a trim here, there's an add there. And so that level of detail has been provided, and we'll have that available for the public as well. And what I'm referring to it as is a salary and fringe benefits supplement. And so we literally show what makes up the $30.6 million in total salary. And it's broken down by many lines that the school committee is accustomed to seeing in our detailed reports. It's part of the supplement. Within that $30 million, $28.8 million is our general salaries. And so all of the schedules that are attached for each of the buildings breaks down the number of positions. And I actually have a summary that says, as a for instance, that at Colt Andrews Elementary School, we have 34.9 FTEs being budgeted for $2.4 million. If you wanted to find out further what made that up, you can go to the Colt Andrews document and actually see the breakdown of the staffing. Don't have anything specific to point out within the documents. I think it self-reads. I think the school committee has done a good job, and our directors have done a good job understanding where we were in August, where we are in January, and where we're going come next September. And the budget aligns with that discussion, so we can answer questions for those who dig into the details and have specific questions. So that piece is presented and available for your review this evening. The last page within the supplement is a breakdown of the employee fringe benefits. And the fringe benefits, as we're showing, is $13.7 million in totality. And the last sheet of the supplement actually breaks down whether it's medical, whether it's dental, whether it's pension, etc. And so we did analyze the impact of the changes of the number of staff that will be taking place. And we made some reductions within the categories. For example, if we're reducing 10 or 12 positions, 13 positions that were had medical benefits, we reduced that. And then I added on top of that the cost increase. So for medical, we're going from $4.8 million to $4.913 million, a $69,000 increase. So we're absorbing a 3% premium increase and offsetting that with the reduction of the need for spending the premiums on positions based on the current model. And that flows through the whole fringe benefits package as well. So it's a precursor, and the next slide that's coming up will be revenue, and I'll dive into that just a little bit.
but the essence is, it's a significant change, but we've aligned it. We have implemented position control on all the positions so that going forward, we'll be in a spot that becomes a blueprint for our plan for the future. And so we'll be able to be on top of it. That was one of your bullet points when I first got here. Well, we need to create the blueprint, and then we'll put the blueprint into action when the budget's adopted. The last piece is we did probably 2.5 months worth of budget work in about, I want to say about 28 days. I got to thank the directors and the superintendent for her support we came up with a model for inputting information and communicating with our principals in the business office. We're providing feedback through that model. We will be putting that out next year in October for the following year plan. So by Christmas, we will have an opportunity to vet and present the information internally. So people won't be working 60 to 70 hours a week to get the document and the communications out to you on a timely basis. So I look forward to that as this thing unfolds, which leads me to, I need a little bit more time for the non-staffing piece. And we've jumped ahead one, but before.
Oh, Ryan, can you go back
Just
to the
go
last
back.
slide,
I'm
please?
sorry.
Thank you.
The non-staffing piece, which is our professional services through our miscellaneous. I am working on a similar supplement, and it was similar to the document that you had received in August, which will provide the breakdown by schools, by object codes, and then a breakdown of those object codes for the details. That'll be coming out. We're looking to release that on Thursday. And so what we'd like to do is get that document out to school committee members, and we'll post it up so the public can see it. And they'll be encouraged to contact either the superintendent's office or my office, and we'll be happy to sit down with small groups through the course of next week and go into those details. A little unique undertaking because of the time constraints in order to meet our objective of having a budget adoption by next 2 weeks from today. Because February 28th, if we adopt, we got to be in front of the JFC on March 2nd. So we're willing to make those outreaches for folks and then have the next presentation on the 28th, in which we have all these categories filled in, and hopefully give opportunity for folks to get the questions answered that they need over the next 10 days leading up to February 28th. So I think we are approaching it based on our timeline in the most efficient manner to get the information out to the stakeholders so that they do know what we're taking on. Our goal is to come in at almost level funding. Again, it's a repurposing, meeting the objectives that the superintendent has identified. I'm happy to move on to the revenue, and then I'll ask questions. Okay, Ryan.
Next slide.
Ryan, next slide.
And
Thank you.
I just want to add that Tony and I will make ourselves available to the committee at any time. So if evenings work better or days work better, if you want to do it via Zoom or in person, we will make ourselves available so that you can ask whatever detail number of questions that you would like to ask about all of the stuff that's still TBD on there. So we're happy to do that for you. So you just let us know what makes the most sense, and we will schedule that. So I'm sorry. So these are the revenues. Go ahead, Tony.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Thank you, Superintendent. And what I can say is there's no big shift in those non-staffing lines. So that's another piece. Our biggest shift that we're looking at is the deployment of the staff coming up. So that's where the focus is primarily being. But here we're showing the projected revenues. They're self-explanatory. We're looking at the federal revenue, which is our Medicaid reimbursements. We believe that's achievable. I did get the governor's recommended state aid number, so that is the recommended number that we have in front of us. There was some rumblings that we were staring at $500,000 million in state aid loss, but the governor's going on record that schools will be maintained or supposed to maintain. So we're only projected to lose about $35,000 in revenue for next year, which is a great point. And so our appropriation request, we're targeting 2.5% as the max that we'd be going to the school community for, and being able to balance a budget based on $55.3 million. About a $500,000 increase in revenue based on the redeployment and the reallocation of assets within the expense side already. So I'm very confident about these numbers. And the highlight of highlight is we're projecting no use of fund balance. And we're only looking for $500,000 of additional revenue. So to do the math, we're basically taking care of that unrestricted fund balance, of the use of fund balance, and increasing our contributions based on our negotiated contracts. So I'm very excited about where we're going to be standing come next year financially, out from underneath the burden of having a deficit spending in front of us. And we're poised to be able to take the district to the next level instructionally, which is exciting. So I'm happy to answer questions as it unfolds. And again, next year, people have learned how the process works, communications in line, and timeline will be much earlier. So a full document will be available, and additional time for vetting would be available for all of us as well. So thank you.
Ryan, can you stop sharing so we can see folks' faces for questions? Because otherwise I can't see who's got a question.
Does anybody have any questions?
I got one.
Go.
Anna, are you going to set up a schedule or whatever for each of us to come to talk to you, or how's that going to work out?
I will have Kate reach out to everyone and you let us know what works for you. And again, we're happy to do individual or small group as long as we don't have a quorum. Whatever works for all of you works for us. We will make it work at whatever time that you need us to be available. So Kate will send out just shoot you an email and you let us know when you're available and we'll make it happen.
Should we wait a while before that time comes? And when do you think we should come in? After what time?
Tony's not going to have that TBD until Thursday. So if you want to wait until we have all the information, I will say starting probably Thursday evening, moving through until Sunday the 27th, whatever works best for all of you.
All right. Thank you very much.
Yes, Sheila.
Could you add, that sheet that you had done for us that had enrollment by school, projection enrollment?
Oh, yes. We can send that.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, because I think that will help kind of tell the
Absolutely.
story of staffing.
Well, listen,
That was my question.
the TBD for the non-staffing piece,
Yeah,
they are going to be broken by school.
okay,
So I'll just make sure I get those attachments and we'll attach that. So you'll have,
that'd be great.
you'll have the complete
Because I think
school.
then everybody can look at the staffing and then what our enrollment has been
Yep.
and what our
And
enrollment.
the
is projected.
non-personal and then the enrollment piece, yes.
Thanks.
Perfect.
I appreciate it.
Yes, Erin.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I was just going to ask the same thing that Sheila just asked. And then I apologize if I missed it, but will we be getting the document before we meet or?
The answer to that is yes.
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Okay.
We currently have the staffing and all of that. That supplement will send you the rest as soon as it's completed on Thursday.
Okay, and that being said, I just want to say, it's not a complaint. I'm saying I really appreciate all the work everyone has put into this because I know it's been a lot. And so I'm very appreciative of that. I understand that everyone's been working to the 0 hour to get this done. Just want to have some time to really delve in and look at it so that I can ask all the right questions. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Anybody else? All right, seeing there are no more questions, that ends our discussion. We're going to vote on this on February 28th. It will be transmitted to Joint Finance, and then we'll meet again several days after that at Joint
Projected
Finance.
enrollment.
No,
Oh.
that's not.
Actually, it is over. I need, unless you have something else you want to say, Superintendent, I need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? All opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you very much. Good night, ladies and gentlemen.